This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Welcome to ER Vet on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Justine Lee, and I'm a board-certified veterinary emergency critical care specialist and toxicologist. Thanks for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking about whether you should bring your dog to a hotel, which ironically, as a veterinarian, I was just weighing this because I'm going to a hotel on Friday for a little staycation. We'll talk about this right after these messages.
Take a bite out of your competition. Advertise your business with an ad in Pet Life Radio podcasts and radio shows. There is no other pet-related media that is as large and reaches more pet parents and pet lovers than Pet Life Radio. With over 7 million monthly listeners, Pet Life Radio podcasts are available on all major podcast platforms. And our live radio stream goes out to over 250 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, Odyssey, TuneIn, and other streaming apps. For more information on how you can advertise on the #1 pet podcast and radio network, visit PetLifeRadio.com/advertise today.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to ER Vet on Pet Life Radio. Today, we're going to be talking about, should I bring my dog to a hotel? And I'm super honored to have the past president of the American Veterinary Medical Association, Dr. José Arce, with us today to talk about this. Dr. Arce, do you mind just introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and where you are right now?
Yes. I'm Dr. José Arce. I'm past president of the AVMA. As of yesterday, I was immediate past president until then. I am a small animal practitioner in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and I am presently in Estes Park in a nice cabin with a beautiful view of the mountains. This morning, I was having coffee with my neighborhood deers visiting, and so it's been a blast. And talking about the topic, the cabin next to me is having their dogs over on their staycation.
Nowadays, we see so many dogs and cats when we travel. And obviously, post-pandemic, after COVID, we know so many pet owners or people adopted or fostered or purchased pets. And partly it was because of companionship, right? COVID was so hard. We weren't able to go anywhere. We were in isolation, and just being able to have that pet at home really was so helpful for our own emotional health. And again, just emphasizes the importance of the human-animal bond. But I did want to talk to you because oftentimes people will travel with their pets. And I always say, you really want to weigh whether or not your dog's going to enjoy it as much as you're going to enjoy it. So what do people need to know when it comes to a hotel and whether or not to bring their pet or not?
Yeah. Definitely the first thing you need to do is check with the hotel and see if they allow dogs or cats if you happen to be traveling with a cat. And then think about your dog's personality and their health conditions. And before deciding to bring them with you, is it the best thing to bring the dog with you? Is the personality of the dog okay to be among other people or away from home? Is this something they're used to? Or is it something that you might be better to leave your dog at a kennel or at your veterinarian's office, and you can enjoy it. If the personality of the dog if it's a nervous dog, it might not be the best idea.
How do you, first of all, find if the hotel is pet friendly or not?
Different hotel chains will say it on their web pages. There's also some pet friendly groups. You can Google pet friendly hotels, and they have a list of the major chains, which ones allow, which ones don't. But the easiest thing is just call the hotel you're gonna go to and find out.
You also have to read the fine print, because some, like the hotel I'm staying at, they'll only take dogs less than 25 pounds or less than 50 pounds. They'll only take service dogs sometimes. So really important to double check. I will personally say it drives me nuts when the hotels have weight limitations, because I often find that some bigger dogs, which I have both a big dog and a small dog. My bigger dog is way better at a hotel versus my small dog, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, and same thing with the airlines. Some airlines will not allow big dogs, or if they allow it, they're going to be in cargo. So that's something you might want to consider. Is your dog going to be okay in cargo, not being with you for a few hours? So that's another thing you need to check in.
Yeah. And, you bring up a good point. Sometimes we want our pets to go more than our pets want to go. And that stress might actually be a lot harder on your dog or cat. So next question, is a road trip always a good thing for your dog?
Again, consider your dog's personality, the way it behaves. Is it comfortable being around people, or is it a nervous dog that gets really nervous when it encounters people, just walking down the street, walking to your near park? So if you've never done it, one good idea is to try to go to a close place near home. Don't go to a long vacation where you're going to be traveling hours or flying away to then find out your dog's not comfortable with this idea. So maybe you want to try a short weekend vacation or one night stay somewhere near your house.
Some dogs aren't used to traveling in cars or however you're traveling, whether or not it's a truck or, a camper. What do you do in that scenario? Like when you mentioned taking small trips, what do you do if your dog all of a sudden starts like drooling or vomiting in the car?
Yeah, excellent idea. Some dogs will get car sickness just like people do. So this is something you need to stop, wherever you're find a safe area to stop, take your dog outside for a short walk. But if this is something that, you never done, that's why you want to try this before, take a ride around your neighborhood, take a ride near town, see how he does, riding in the car. Because if you never travel with your pet on the car, or maybe the only time you do is when you go to the veterinarian that might be around the corner, that's not the same. You want to see how it does in curves, how it does, when you're going in hills and you're going zigzags. So, try it in a short distance near your house and then see how he does.
And when in doubt, I always say, if you do notice that your dog is drooling profusely or vomiting, there are actually great prescription medications that you can get from your veterinarian to prevent that nausea and car sickness. So when in doubt, you can always talk to your vet about this in advance. And I love how you brought up, when in doubt, do short trips, right? You always want to use positive feedback. So maybe just letting your dog jump into the car, taking one drive around one block. And when you notice that your dog is doing well, you can just go ahead and stop, right? And then you just want to slowly increase that frequency. Now, one thing that drives me nuts as a veterinarian, because I've seen trauma when people get in car accidents, is when they're driving with their dog and they have their dog in the front seat. Do you mind just talking about that and the potential dangers and where ideally a dog should be in the car or truck, and if they should be secured or not?
Yeah, definitely. Very important safety question. And it's something that many people do. They think that, it's okay to go with them in the front, but actually they should be going in the back seat. And there's special seat belts that you can use that are for pets, designed specifically for pets, and they attach to your regular seat belt. So that's the recommendation. That's the safest things. The last thing you want to do is have a dog that's loose on the front seat, and then it gets around your feet while you're driving, and you can get into an accident. Another thing, if you have to brake suddenly, that dog can smash itself against the window, and this is not a situation we want to see. So definitely, it should go in the back seat. And if you're in a pickup, there's specific also, garnishes that you can use for the dog to travel on a pickup truck without being loose on the back of the pickup.
In fact, it may actually be illegal to have a loose dog in the back of a pickup truck. Most of the time, depending on the state, they have to be secured in a crate, and that crate has to be secured. So when in doubt, you definitely want to double check. I actually saw one situation where someone was driving, their cat was completely loose, and they weren't able to brake because their cat was sitting in that area, and it actually resulted in a car accident. So when in doubt, you always want to have your pet secured. Another reason why is you may try to stop at a stop on the road for some reason, and we don't want your dog or cat to bolt out that door and get lost. All right, so great information. Now back to that hotel. If you're going to stay at a hotel with a dog, what do you need to bring for your dog?
Well, definitely, first you want to make sure that the dog's vaccinations are up to date. You might be also traveling to a state. I live in Puerto Rico, for example. We don't have Lyme disease. But if I happen to travel to the East Coast, where my son was going to college, and I bring my dogs, I make sure it's up to date and also in the tick and flea preventives, because the last thing I want is for my dog to get sick while I'm on vacation. So that's important. And then you want to get some sort of a travel kit, for your pooch. You want to make sure you include water, food, leash, and a collar, waste bag. So when you take him outside to do the breeders, make sure you pick it up and put it in a trash bag appropriately. And if your dog suffers from any medical condition, you might have a special diet, like a liver diet or a kidney diet. Make sure you bring ample food for that trip. And the same thing with medications. Make sure you have, if your trip is for a week, make sure you have a couple extra days, because we know nowadays there's a lot of cancellations with airplanes or delays, or something happens during your trip where you might not get home until a couple days after you thought you were good. So make sure you have ample food and medication during that trip.
So important to always be prepared. Now, what if you have to leave your dog in the hotel room?
Oh, definitely. You want to make sure, it feels comfortable. Dogs are very used to routines. Make sure you walk them in the morning. If you do that in the middle of the day and then in the evening, make sure you bring, their favorite blanket, a couple of their favorite toys. So they feel happy in the room, and they feel almost like they're at home.
Also double check with the hotel policies, because some hotels will specifically say you cannot leave the dog in the room. They have to go with you wherever. So you definitely want to double check. Most of them will decline housekeeping for your room because of that. And some will require that your dog have to be crated. So if you happen to be in a hotel that allows your dog to stay in the room, I always make sure that there's some white noise on. So maybe a TV with something, low stress on, or maybe some music, just to make sure. Maybe the hotel bathroom fan, just keeping that on for some white noise. So you definitely want to check, because nobody wants to be that annoying guest who has that dog that's constantly barking and you end up being called. So again, we want well-behaved dogs that are traveling.
Oh, definitely. And there's also some hotels, if you want your dog to have, the life of luxury, there's some hotels where they'll have a pool with a lifeguard. They'll cook for your dog, have, specific diets that they can give according to what your dog eats. So no, you can also pamper them. I'm even have them give him massages. So there's so much you can do, but that's up to what you want and what your dog's comfortable with.
Wonderful. Now, where can people go for more information?
You can go to avma.org, and there you can see an area that's for clients and for the public. And there's information about traveling with your pet specifically. You just go in the search area, and then you'll find all kinds of information and links to other groups.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We'll continue with this really important dog topic right after these messages from our sponsors.
Molly, here's your dinner. Zeus, that's not your food.
Don't let that happen to your precious cat. Elevate your cat's eating experience with the Cat Tree Tray. The Cat Tree Tray keeps your cat's food off the floor and conveniently located on the cat tree. It's the perfect way to eat. It's a beautiful wrought iron tray that easily attaches to your cat tree and keeps dogs and other critters out of your cat's dish. A must for multi-pet households. There's a 6-inch tray for large bowls and a 4-inch tray for smaller bowls. Purchase your Cat Tree Tray today. Go right now to cattreetray.com. That's cattreetray.com. cattreetray.com.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to ER Vet on Pet Life Radio. I've been talking about what you should do when it comes to traveling with your dog, and really honored to have Dr. José Arce here. We've been talking about whether or not you should even bring your dog to a hotel. Again, if it's just for 1 or 2 nights and you can find a pet sitter or a house sitter, it may be less stressful. to not take your dog. So when in doubt, you always want to think about your dog's response to traveling and stress level. You always want to make sure that you're well prepared, that you've called the hotel to confirm you can bring your pooch, that you've brought the right supplies, a leash, maybe backup food, their favorite chew toy, and you want to check with the hotel to see if you can even leave your dog in that hotel room. Now, Dr. Arce, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about dogs at restaurants. First of all, are dogs allowed to go to restaurants?
Dogs are allowed to go to certain restaurants. It's up to the city and the codes and also the restaurants. Most of the ones that allow will be restaurants that offer outdoor dining areas.
It's probably because of health code in different cities and states. Now, from the dog perspective, do dogs like going, or what are some of the stressors of an outdoor cafe environment to a dog?
Yeah, definitely. You want to make sure the dog is comfortable being around people. It's going to be okay, but by being on a leash and next to you in the table, and make sure it's going to be okay, and comfortable with the business going on, with the waitresses running back and forth and other nearby tables, talking and maybe yelling. They're having fun. And some dogs do great with that, but some don't. We know our dogs and we know what their personalities are like. So I think you'd be a good judge of whether that be a good idea or not. And if you've never done it and you have doubts, try going during some time of the day when it's less busy, the restaurant, and see how the dog does. And then maybe you will be able to take it later at night when everybody's there.
I also wanted to add, your dog should be well behaved if you're going to bring it and expose it to other people, right? So if your dog is like constantly pulling on the leash or constantly begging or trying to jump up on the table in that outdoor cafe, that to me is not a well-behaved dog. So again, making sure that your dog is well behaved before you do things like this. Now, what should you bring with you for your dog if you end up taking your dog to an outdoor cafe?
Oh, definitely. You want to bring, a water bowl. If the restaurant doesn't provide water, but you bring your own water also. And depending on the time of the day when your dog is used to eating, you might bring, a little bit of the food. The last thing you want to do is feed it food from what you're eating because of health reasons, because potential, things that can happen with whatever he's eating at that restaurant that he's not used to. I know some people like to feed, human food to dogs. And that's okay if it's used to. But if you are at a restaurant and that's not something he's getting used to, I would avoid that and bring something from home that he normally eats.
All right. What about weather? Does weather play a role on whether or not you should bring your dog to an outdoor cafe?
Oh, definitely. It plays a huge role. I'm right here in Estes Park right now where, the other day it got up to the 90s, but the humidity here, it was less than 20%. But if you come back to my San Juan, Puerto Rico, where it was 92, but it was 90% humidity, and your dog's not used to it, they can definitely, suffer and not be comfortable. So, we know what temperatures our dogs are used to, are comfortable with, and what times of the day we normally would walk them, depending on where we live in the country and the temperatures that are there and the humidity. And they judge from that. Don't take them outside to our restaurants at times when it's really hot and then they're not used to being outdoors at those times.
Fantastic information. So important because, again, our dogs and our cats are our family members, but we always want to make sure that we're thinking about their health and their emotional health too. They may be more stressed to travel with us and may prefer to be at home with a pet sitter or a house sitter. They may prefer not to go to that hotel. If they're able to go to an outdoor restaurant, we want to make sure that they're a good pet stewards, that they have good behavior, they're lying down, that it's not stressful to them. When in doubt, where can people go for more information?
You can go to avma.org, and there's plenty of information about, different recommendations for pets, whether it's traveling, whether it's eating outdoors, vaccinations, summer heat and the potential of a heat stroke. All those, there's great information there.
Wonderful. Dr. Arce, thank you so much again, and a wealth of information on AVMA's website, so definitely want to check that out. Well, that brings us to the end of today's show. Find me at drjustinelee.com, on Facebook or Instagram at Dr. Justine Lee, or email me at drjustine@petliferadio.com. With that, we're out of time, and we want to thank Dr. José Arce and Mark Winter, our producer, for making this show possible. See you at the next episode.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.